My colleague Chris Oakenfold, and I commend it to the House.
Mr Speaker, yes, it's the honourable member. I call him Chris Farfawi.
We don't call him that. Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. For those watching Parliament TV tonight who have chosen to watch the Habeas Corpus Amendment Bill instead of watching the England run chase, I just wanted to give you a bit of a match update for where we are in this point of the debate, because what we've got here is a match within a match. One which is quite serious, a legal argument about the habeas corpus, but there's another match, and we call it gerrymandering, and I think you probably call it batting for time, I think, with the government, because they're trying to stretch out what's going on this Members' Day, trying to make sure that they stock their side of the agenda with a lot of meaningless bills which shouldn't be put through under a Members' Bill. It shouldn't be, and that's the real story of what's going on here. That shouldn't be being debated. This bill shouldn't be being debated on this day, a Members' Day, because this bill should have been put through as a government bill being dealt with by the Justice Minister. And with all due respect to the member in charge of the bill, Chris Oakenfold, a very fine member of this Parliament, essentially what he's done is taken the recommendations from the Law Commission report, and then they put a draft bill in it. He's pushed Control-C, he's pushed Control-V, and then put this bill into the members' ballot, and this is what we've got in front of us here today, Mr Speaker. And this bill shouldn't be taking up time of this House, and I think maybe some members on that side of the House realise that. Alfred Naro and Scott Simpson took all of about 10 seconds to debate this bill. And that's the level of respect maybe that they have for this bill and the time that it is taking up in this House, Mr Speaker. And then earlier in his contribution, or it may have been an interjection, Mr Oakenfold was asked why he didn't go into more detail about this bill, and his reply was time constraints. And I would probably ask those who may be recording this debate at home to go and check just how much time Mr Oakenfold took up during his contribution to the bill. He had a 10-minute call and probably took up 5. So there were no time constraints at all for Mr Oakenfold to go, for him to go into some of the finer details of this bill. Mr Speaker, this bill shouldn't be being debated as a Members' Bill. The Members' Bill process is here for all members of this House to be able to put through issues which they hold dear, whether it be for their own electorate or their portfolio area. And on this side of the House, we believe that the government's ploy is to stack the ballot with bills in the name of National Backbench MPs, basically to stop other meaningful bills that could be being put through under a Members' Bill being put through this House. So, Mr Chair, we don't support the way in which the National Party has used the process of Members' Bills to put forward bills of this nature. We've seen other bills put through last year under this same guise, while other more meaningful bills that have been put forward by the members and have had the luck of being drawn from the ballot have been at the bottom of the order paper on these Members' Days, and we certainly think that that's a shame. But looking at some of the details of the bill itself, there are some recommendations that have been made by the Law Commission which I think are worthy, and I think it may have been Andrew Little who talked about the benefit of being able to have the provision of permitting pre-hearing conferences by either telephone or video link or other technology authorised by the rules of the court. We think that could be quite handy in terms of making sure there's swifter justice for people who find themselves in the situation of having a habeas corpus hearing, where it is appropriate, of course. And I do note there is some concern from the Green Party about whether or not a video conference facility making use of that technology is the appropriate thing to do, and I guess that is something that we'll continue to debate. But Mr Chair, there was also another recommendation by the Law Commission that a High Court judge or judge of that court should be given the ability to dispense in appropriate cases with the rule that habeas corpus applications take precedence over all other business, and that has come about because there have been emerging. There are quite a few cases of misuse of the habeas corpus procedures by some applicants to get priority over other issues that should have been dealt with. Mr Chair, I just did want to go back to, that deals with a couple of issues around the details of the bill, but I just did want to go back to the nature of the way that this bill has been brought to the House. You know, if you're going to use a word that the Honourable John Banks might use, it could be described as gerrymandering. We don't believe that this bill should have come to this House in this way. Mr Ockenvold claimed that this bill is worthy of working into the night hours, but on this side of the House we really do wonder if that is certainly the case. We do believe it should have been brought to this House in a much more substantive way by the Justice Minister, Judith Collins. But, well, it could have if it was put together with a whole lot of other things, which should have been the way that this bill should have entered the House as a statutes amendment bill. But it was not brought to the House in that fashion. And you do have to wonder about the way in which the Justice Minister worked last year. There are a number of issues that she certainly wasn't on top of in the Justice portfolio that fell over, and certainly we don't need to mention what happened in terms of ACC. Mr Chair, there is also, in terms of I would like a members' bill to be pulled out of the ballot. I haven't had that luxury yet in my 2.4 years. No, I haven't had that luxury. So that even more personally guts me to think that this process has been used by the government to bring this bill to the House in this way. I do note that Labor is supporting this bill, but I just did want to remind people at home who can now switch over back to the cricket the way in which the government is using this process to gerrymander the process.
I call the Honourable Member Katrina Shanks.